Welcome. Spoilers in this video. Sphere from 1998, Thoughts film. And that one's going there. Okay, so this is a long video, but there are a couple of time codes in the description box for the different sections. Now, my own quote-unquote film critic rating for this is a 7 out of 10, and I guess my personal rating is, I'm somewhere between 8 or 9. I guess overall a 9. There's almost nothing, if I don't feel the need to be objective when I'm just talking about this movie, there's almost nothing about it that I don't really enjoy. So yeah, personal rating is a 9. So that takes us to the first section. Notes taken while watching. Yeah, forgive the, this is a new setup for me still, so I'm still trying to figure out where to put my notepad and everything. Now, I haven't read the book or any other Crichton book. Maybe I should zoom. Give me a second. Yeah, this might bounce the camera. Maybe go ahead and look away and I'll let you know when to look back. And for some reason, whenever I zoom, it gets the idea. It takes that as a green light to go to the top of the document instead of just zooming. Yes, that is better, and you can officially look again. The camera is not going to bounce. Let me just, again, this is going to look like I'm pretend flying. There we go. I'm just making sure I'm centered, because it's, again, I'm aware there is, what's it called again? White space, blank space, negative space, whatever, above my head. But other than that, I'm going to try to be somewhat centered in the frame. Now, yes. Yeah, let me start again. I haven't read the book or any other Crichton book. I love Runaway, and his other films sound really cool. I'm otherwise not all that familiar with this work. Wait, he wrote that movie about the virus. Andromeda as something, which was made into like a movie, maybe more than one movie. It was adapted at least once. And Andromeda Strain, I want to say it's called. I think I like watching that pretty well, yeah. Now, but other than that, yeah. When I made my video on Runaway, my vlog on Runaway, I, just to try to do, what's it called? To try to do research, I looked up other stuff that he is, that Crichton wrote and or directed, and yeah, a lot of it sounds cool. I haven't really watched it. The first Jurassic Park movie is well made. I haven't watched the rest. And from here on out, it's the notes I took while watching. It's just that everything I've gone over so far was originally going to go in the section notes taken before watching, and I was like, if that's all the notes that are going to be in that section, I might as well just put them in this section. Anyway, I like Liev Schreiber in everything I've seen him in, I think, and he plays very different roles than the things that I've seen him in. This, the Scream trilogy, X-Men Origins Wolverine, which is a bad movie, but he's good in it. Despite the shared frustration, Liev and Dustin's characters immediately start arguing like no time has passed since they last saw each other. you know, both of them are frustrated with being denied more information, with being confined to quarters, and it's this very unfamiliar and unsettling situation for them. And yet immediately they just launch it. It's like an old married couple or something. I love the humor in this movie. How did you come up with the mathematician, a biologist, and an astrophysicist? Well, I was working on one of those go into a bar jokes. So they're literally there because Dustin's character took 35 grand to write a BS report. I I gotta respect the kind of, I mean, because this is it's fairly typical kind of sci-fi setup, you know. Government types find something they don't know what is, and it's, you know, and they call in a bunch of scientists, you know, specialists from each field, you know, and they yeah, and in this case it's like, I didn't think they were actually gonna call us. They offered me 35 grand. What was it? What was he said? I had a down payment on something like that. Needed a down payment. Anyway, and of course he doesn't want to talk about that. Let's see. That when they were together, he was married to another woman. And they point out it's not just humanoid, it is human. It's 300 years old. There were no Americans, let alone spaceships. And we see the sphere, and it is massive. I think they did a quite good job on, you know, it doesn't feel the effect. It doesn't feel indulgent. It doesn't feel like they're just so in love with this thing. I didn't really feel like we saw it more than really made sense to. It was just, you know, you are supposed to be, it is awe-inspiring. You are supposed to be taken aback by the size, the perfection of it, you know, the fact that it is a perfect sphere. It really, like they say, no door, no hinges, nothing. It is completely spherical, and it has that kind of, you know, the surface isn't just like completely, yeah, I'm not good at describing stuff like that, but you know, the idea, if you're watching this vlog, the idea that you've watched the movie and that it's fresh in your memory. So my point is, they did a good job on it. It's compelling. It's not just, you know, oh wow, look at that really big marble. There's you understand why the, you know, why they felt a movie, this thing deserved a movie, you know, to be made about it. I realize obviously the sphere doesn't exist in the real world, but I'm saying, you know, Michael Crichton thought of this thing and he devoted, you know, an entire book to it that then became an entire movie devoted to it. It's a good thing for the sphere itself to genuinely be something, you know, you remember it when you've watched the movie. You know, I realize not everybody likes the movie, but I would say the sphere itself is something you remember. But yeah, you know, it doesn't feel like they did some of this stuff just to like prove they could. This is something I talk about, and you know, certainly there are some similarities between this and Event Horizon. In fact, when I did my videos on Event Horizon, I rewatched this since I was like, you know, there are definitely some elements in common. And I definitely do prefer this to Event Horizon, though I will admit, when I was like a teenager, if I recall, Event Horizon really appealed to me. A bunch of, you know, Paul W. Anderson films did. Now I enjoy them mostly ironically. You know, I find it fascinating that he keeps getting work. When, I mean, I've watched almost everything he's done. That basically the stuff he's done that I haven't watched yet. I mean, he did like a TV movie and like the very first movie he made, I haven't watched, but everything he's known for, I've watched. And he really hasn't made any good movies. You know, they're just, yeah, some of them are quite fun, but there's always a caveat. And again, I realize there's not a lot of light on my face, but I'm afraid. Oh, hold on a second. This, I guess not. Not by much, but it is there. But yeah, I had forgotten it is supposed to be as anyway. I am currently all of the lighting that I can currently get on me is already on. Let me do a quick. I mean, this isn't gonna make. I don't think this is going to. Huh. Actually, I guess maybe that is better. Let me just. Um, hmm. I can't. I can't quite tell if this is better or not. I don't think it's worse. You know, let me do a quick. So before it was like this. That's the light from over here. Yeah, I think this is the better setup of the two. Hopefully soon I will be able to do more about the lighting. Yeah. In the meantime, I don't know. You know, I got drapes. I got a treadmill. Hopefully there are other things in the frame. And no, I'm not making a podcast. And I'm not going to go into detail about why in this video. Anyway, yes, the sphere. You know, yes, Event Horizon. That was where the tangent started. Event Horizon has some scenes early on where they find the I mean, it's not really a spoiler. Yeah, they find this kind of abandoned seeming spaceship. And when they first enter it, they find that there's like liquid in the air, and you have these like kind of these fluid like big what's it called? Like they look like really big drops of water basically, and they like poke at least one of them, and it like kind of moves. Like that's indulgent. You know, you don't need that there. The fact that there is liquid above the ground is, you know, that when they turn back the artificial gravity, then it all comes down. So you didn't need to, you know, it's not that it's completely pointless, but you don't need to see them go and poke at it like that. That's, you know, it doesn't exactly help that the effects have not aged well at all. But anyway, right. So the yeah, I don't think there's really any effect in this that feels just indulgent. It's, you know, it's there to make an impression. It's there to, you know, and some of the effects are there to you know, create tension and make it scary. And I would say, yeah, I would say it always works, and none of the effects are genuinely excessive. And I have to, I really admire that part where basically like, you know, you have all this liquid and they have to put out. Actually, or do they put out fires there, or is that only in the next? Anyway, I've only watched it like 3 times total, and even this most recent viewing, I'm anyway. I sometimes have problems with my memory. But yeah, there's this big scene where like everything. Yeah, it's the one where afterwards Norman realizes Harry completely slept through it, and Harry doesn't seem bothered by realizing that, and he just sits there and talks about the book. They did a really good job on making that sequence build and become really, really terrifying and effective without it becoming overpowering. It's been, I haven't watched Speed in a lot of years, but if I recall, there's at least one portion of that movie where it simply pushes it too far. I feel like it's maybe also in part the kind of emotional, like yeah, I'm just gonna go, if you haven't watched Speed, this is just a good thing to know. This is tiny spoiler. It's not like big plot thing, but it is. There's a there's a bit where the bus hits, what's it called, pram, whatever, like a baby carriage thing. You hold the handles, and it's got the thing with the baby inside, and like the like a second or two after we see it hit the pram, we realize there was no baby inside. I forget, did she maybe just use it to like transport stuff from like a store or something? I don't remember exactly. That, if I recall, that pushes it at least a little too far, especially emotionally, because that really is, it's horrifying to think that that an infant just died, and in such a brutal fashion as well. And yeah, that's the thing. This movie does not push it too far. And I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. Peter Coyote's character puts a camera on it, has it on surveillance. I'm not entirely. I guess if I don't know. No. I guess this isn't really a negative, but it's just it's a it's a it's a thing. I'm not entirely certain if I feel that the chapter headings being on screen are distracting and call attention to the fact that it's fiction, or if they're intriguing because they do, give an idea of first analysis and the battle station, and it's yeah, and I don't think any of them disappoint or mislead, but it's a thing. It's more commonly in books than movie. Tons of books have chapter headings, but most movie adaptations of them drop those. And this is, yeah, it really seems like a case where they were like, I don't know, I kind of like the chapter headings. Let's keep them in. And yeah, I mean, ultimately, when you're reading something, at the end of the day, your brain does not believe that what you're reading is like happening. Like when you watch a movie, if a thing is coming right at the camera, you might go like, ah, I don't want it to hit me. If you read, in a book, then a big thing came right at the protagonist, you're not gonna put the book down and go like that. At the end of the day, a book, it feels like you're reading something that already happened, and maybe it did happen in real life, but it's not happening right now. And with movies, so to have chapter headings, I don't know. It might have been a good idea to remove them, but ultimately, I don't. I personally am not like really pulled out of the movie, but I could understand if some are. So the line in the movie is, "If I take this off, I sound like someone squeezing my testicles." The subtitles just said, "Sound like Mickey Mouse." I don't know. Maybe it was to save space. So sometimes you read subtitles and you kind of feel like they're kind of passing judgment on this thing. Maybe they don't think this is the best movie ever made or something. But yeah, I I keep forgetting if I actually did or didn't. I'm just briefly gonna say that on the library DVD of the first Avengers movie, there's this there's a special feature where the yeah, I forget if it's the only thing, but one thing they talk about in that is the what's it called, the helicarrier. And what they are actually saying is, we're happy to be able to put in this movie what fans thought was just out of frame, just a little further up than Iron Man was flying or whatever, the helicarrier. And what the subtitles say is what what fans maybe thought was far fetched those are not the same. That is not, that's not like a different way to say the same thing. No, that's saying that isn't what they're saying. When it's possible that the person doing the subtitles just misjudged what was being said, but what they are saying is, it would have been like the helicarrier does not appear in the other movies, not because the helicarrier for sure wasn't there. It's got a stealth mode. Iron Man may have flown right past it at least one of the times he flew, but it wasn't there. There wasn't really, they didn't do a story featuring the helicarrier before the first Avengers movie, and that they couldn't really, there wouldn't have been room for the helicarrier in any of the other movies. How would the plot involve a helicarrier? It doesn't make any sense. But in the Avengers, it makes sense to use that kind of mobile base. You know, yeah, I think I've pretty much said what I wanted to say about that. Now, I'm not going to quote every single funny line because I'd just be quoting every line, and I'm glad that I did do that for the Two and a Half Men, season thoughts videos. But I don't know, I guess there's a chance. Currently, I'm not really planning. I don't currently have on the schedule, even far down the line. I don't have more like sitcoms or even comedy shows. So not shows where the comedy is like the main genre. So it's possible, I don't know, maybe somewhere down the line. Maybe there I'll do it again for the lines, but I'm not gonna do it for other. I'm not gonna do it for every single line I like. I realize not every single line in this is funny, but I don't think there's a line in this that I don't like. I find them all, so some of them are just, interesting or clever like. And we're maybe 1/3 into the movie, maybe more than, anyway. And we have the first mention of the idea that they won't survive the story because if they tell people about the time travel, it wouldn't be listed as an unknown event on the ship's records. And I do really appreciate, this could easily have, quote unquote, just been about, actually, I guess, yeah, if this was about actual aliens instead of human beings and time travel, it's kind of apples and oranges, really. But you have the unidentified flying, what's it called? Vessel, whatever, object. Let's go with that. I feel like there's a different flying. I don't remember. The let's see. Right. So the yeah, you have that and you have time travel. I quite like. I am partial to time travel myself. I prefer time travel stories to alien stories, but there are good ones of both. Very good build up on the jellyfish. At first she's like, "Oh, that's kind of sweet," and then she's like, "Okay, they're getting kind of close," and then she's like, "I can't see, they're all around me," and then she's like, "They are killing me. They're getting through and they're killing me." Man, the lighting is, yeah. I think it's the outside lighting that changes it a little, but that was a little bit better. Not no not on my, it wasn't anything I did. Pretty sure it's the natural sunlight. Let's see. And the screen fills up with numbers. Very eerie. It's Harry. Not enough movies have a character enter a scene just saying something vague like that. And Sam Jackson says, "I love eggs." I guess that's where the spirit got that from. I'm not joking, you asshole. I hate squid. It's this is such a funny movie. I can't, because it's such it's you really think, oh, he's joking, and like it's in the movie connections as well, but I like to think that I'd have picked up on it anyway. It's a reference to Alien, and in that scene it's like, oh no, that there it goes really badly. So you're watching this, you're like, oh no, oh what's happening, and then it's I don't like squid, the, the thing that I was eating is something I don't like. That's all. He wasn't choking. He wasn't about to be chest bursted. This just is. It's just not something. That's yeah. And Harry immediately realizes it's not random numbers, it's code. I quite like, although I suppose you could say it's maybe kind of, I don't know, but I like that characters will just enter a scene and they'll be immediately like, oh well, I mean that's that. We can all agree that what I'm looking at is that, the 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 pointing out that it's not humanoid, it's human. The yeah, it's not random numbers, it's code. Let's see. Yeah, just in general, various. I didn't voice type it, but I meant to voice. I really like the line about, I wrote one Dick and Jane book about astrophysics. That's pretty funny. Now, let's see. And they figure out the code. I like that hello at first covers the entire screen. That must have been amazing to watch in a theater and see that just giant size hello. That. And again, I really like the way this is. Well, I guess this is the first time I'm saying it. I really like the way this is filmed and the way it chooses close-ups and such. Is it like this is one of the only that this director has done that's like mystery sci-fi kind of thing? It doesn't show. I don't know, maybe he got a really good cinematographer for a lot of people. The first like big budget, one or more of the fall. Big budget action, horror, fantasy, sci-fi mystery kind of, just there's a certain visual vocabulary that's just not, it's just not quite the same as for like drama movies. I haven't watched the drama movies. Not I haven't been avoiding them. I just haven't, that Mark Webb, who directed both of the Amazing Spider-Man movies, I haven't watched his dramas, but I can imagine that the filming of those fits much better than, is it maybe especially the first Amazing Spider-Man? He just, when you watch the action scenes that don't have CGI or have very little CGI, excuse me, they, yeah, just he did not, maybe especially the subway car, he really did not, he was not very fluent yet in the vocabulary, so he, in the visual language. So it's like when you've watched it a few times, it's basically fine because your brain fills in, what's going on. But the first time you watch it, it is a very disorienting scene, and it really shouldn't be, because it's not supposed to be. It's just that he did not know, and it's the same when you look at Batman Begins. Anyway, that's a lot of eggs. Jerry is no longer happy, and we have all the leaks. Excellent build up of tension. Should he pull the lever or shouldn't he? And Jerry threatens to kill them. And that is the thing. Once you realize that, Jerry is Harry, he thought that like the let's see, he thought, right, he figures that they must not make it out alive, since it's labeled as an unknown event rather than just, oh, this is the that time travel thing that we heard about 300 years ago. So yeah, that he must be intentionally trying to kill them in order to, because when, yeah, he's asleep and he's focusing on, this is gonna end badly, we're gonna end up dead, and his fears manifest. This does a really good job of building up a lot of tension, having a lot of things going wrong, and then having it very suddenly stopped without it feeling like an anticlimax. Yeah, really, really incredible job. And because it does, it just suddenly kind of stops. And you understand why. It's not that it's nonsensical, but anyway. Stop calling me Jerry. And Harry is behaving very weirdly, focusing on the book instead of talking about what's been happening. And Norman can't see, and he's losing air. And he's attacked by what I would describe as maybe like a cobra eel, because the mouth opens up like the cobra thing, or the vampires from the Blade 2, but it's, yeah. Did I think of Blade 2 because I just rewatched Deadpool in preparing for watching Dark Phoenix, or what I've thought about? Anyway, let's see. And Harry says that Beth is being weird, and Beth says that Harry was watching out for Norman, but Harry says that that didn't happen. And that thing with, oh, there's no food, so she went into a 300-year-old, sorry, yeah, 300 years old ship, the ship that's been there for 300 years anyway, to look for food, and comes back. No, there's plenty of food, and she assumes that he hid the food from her. I do think, yeah, maybe if I had to say at least one negative thing, I don't think that the way Harry was behaving seemed complete. Excuse me. Still got my back issues. I'm not completely certain that the way Harry was behaving, I feel like it was more, I don't know, maybe was it supposed to be like film, like seen from her perspective? Just Harry didn't really come off as someone who was just like, confirming that, denying, I guess, denying what she says or confirming that she's wrong, whichever phrasing you want to go with. It felt a little bit more like he was trying to put her in a position that made her look psychotic. But I don't know. Yeah, it's possible that it was supposed to be seen from her perspective, and it certainly is. Like, of all three of them, it's very easy to empathize with her there. As scary as what Norman just survived was, if she genuinely believed that Harry was looking out for Norman, and she thought that there was no food, that they would die soon, that, I don't know, maybe it's possible that I'm misreading it, but moving on. And the only thing Jerry will say is, stop calling me Jerry. So many copies of the same book, and they all end on page 87 because Harry hasn't read any further. And they realize what he dreamed happened. And they plan on knocking Harry out. and Beth locks Norman in the lab, tells him to inject himself, and floods the lab. And she's pointing out, if you open the hand, you'll freeze to death in the water. And he still opens it, and then I don't have any notes for the next several minutes. So let me just briefly pause and say, I really feel this is paced very well. Like, I didn't note exactly, but maybe the first half hour, 45 minutes spent just, we get a sense of who the characters are, including the actually, yeah, no, never mind. I was gonna say the two female characters that, the one, Queen Latifah plays Teeny, maybe. I don't remember the name of the other one, but yeah, you do get a sense for the four, Brainiacs, and you've got, and Peter Coyote. You also have a real sense of who he is. You get some basic idea of what are they dealing with. What is, briefly building up to that, and we get some, we're told about some of the things that are incredibly dangerous. That water is going to be way too cold. You'll freeze to death. The oxygen would be poisonous to you. Excuse me. Yeah, just very, the creatures of the sea are dangerous. All these various things. And then for the rest of it, it has all these, I don't know if the term is set piece, but that's what I'm going to go with. Where you see all the things become dangerous that you've been told are dangerous. And yeah, just it does a really good job. That's sometimes, science fiction can sometimes have a problem when creating something that is a danger to characters, because it might be something that's so foreign to the viewer that we don't know for sure. It's kind of like playing a, platform adventure game. Everything looks kind of like, everything has been designed for its appearance to have, like, to be interesting to you. So you don't know, is this, is this a pickup, or is it an enemy? Is it something dangerous? And this movie solves that by having everything be this scientific. The idea of your subconscious manifesting real dangers. That's obviously that's not real. But the things that it manifests are very real. Are things that you can imagine. You know, I really, really appreciate that they never do show us the giant squid, because I don't think any design could fit with the tone of the rest of the movie. I think it would come off as kind of silly, or just not fitting. I really don't think that they could have. So keeping it to only the sonar, and you see the screen, and just it comes closer and closer, and it's huge, but you never actually see it. I really think that was the exact right call. And just again, it's so terrifying looking, and you're like, get away from that thing, get away. And then what are they gonna do? If it keeps attacking, they're gone. They are just, there's nothing they can do. But it keeps, yeah. And I mean, I don't have any personal kind of, you know squid in like, I mean, I think it, cooked right, it tastes good. I don't personally have any real, like, fear of squids as such. but I do think it was a good choice because it is something when you imagine a giant squid, you know, I think for example, let's say that let's say they said it was a giant shark. I don't think that would have worked as well, and that's just, I don't know. I just recently rewatched that trailer that they did for Back to the Future Day for like Jaws 19, I want to say it was, or something, which yeah, I don't know. I recently rewatched the movies, the trilogy, and for Shazam, and then I remember, oh yeah, there's that Jaws trailer, and so I saved the video to where I can find it again, and I just felt like watching it again. But yeah, I don't think, for example, a shark. I think there are a lot of other creatures that they could have chosen that wouldn't have been as scary, but squid, yeah, you think of like a squid, and like it would grab me with those giant arms and like squeeze me to death or pull me apart or something. It's yeah, because you are imagining it, because the only thing the movie shows you, and the only thing you hear in the movie is that it's a squid. You see the sonar display thing, and you hear the damage it's doing, and stuff like that, but you don't actually see an image of squid, so it's all in your head, and that's a good image to put in there for the situation, far down below. But yeah, and they're suddenly in the spaceship, and trying to get out, but then finally he does manage to, he goes, he sees through it, and he presses the button, and I could understand, I disagree, but I could understand people who say that it's anticlimactic, that the movie ends with a dialogue scene that culminates in them realizing not to tell the people anything. We don't even see what they do tell them. And then we see the sphere, the sphere flying out that confirms that they made the right decision. Flies out of the water, up in the air, up into space, and oh, right, and then yeah, and then we see the three of them successfully did forget. Now they don't know why they're holding hands. Why are you holding my hand? I'm not holding your hand. You're holding mine. I love this movie, and yeah, just it's. I don't know why I've only watched it 3 times. Some movies I just don't sit down and watch again. I mean, I don't love undersea stuff. Maybe that's it. That's probably the only thing that I don't love about the movie. Anyway, yeah, that's I understand people who think that that's anticlimactic. Let's hypothetically, for example, say that the ending was, well, actually, yeah, I guess technically the climax is them getting away there, but still, I don't know. I could imagine that it's something that might bother people, but I think it works, and that is, again, it's based on a book, so there are a lot of scenes where people talk, and that's why I'm really happy that the dialogue is so well written and well delivered, because it would be an extremely slow, boring movie if it wasn't well written and or well delivered. Let's see. Now, without end credits, the movie is 2 hours, 5.5 minutes long, and with credits, it's 2 hours and 9 minutes. And with that, we arrive at IMDb, Wikipedia, and critics' sites. Yeah. That was I didn't quite expect that section to, yeah, so over 40 minutes was that section. Anyway, so let me, yeah. Let's see, first we have my old written review. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and read from the vague beginning of this. I could not help it but be attracted to it. The gradual revealing of what exactly it was all about had me instantly interested, and that did not fade at any point. Frankly, it's engaging about the 2-hour, 10-minute running time. Pacing is spot on, neither boring or overwhelming the viewer. It also needs to be said, this is utterly hilarious. Not a single attempt at being funny falls flat or seems forced. I was laughing a good deal of the time during my viewing, and there's not a shadow of doubt in my mind as to the fact that they were all intentional. Man, my writing can get really wordy sometimes. This is entertaining and exciting, and numerous scenes will have you glued to your seat and your eye constantly on the screen. Masterfully builds a claustrophobic atmosphere. Yes, not to mention one of strong paranoia. Yeah. The plot is well written and compelling, with unexpected twists and a lot of originality to it. Every acting performance is convincing, and for anyone who's worried, no, Latifah does not do her shtick. Honestly, I think this precedes her doing that in movie roles. And she's generally not at all annoying. The five leads are all talented, and they do excellent work here. Hoffman's dry delivery of the jokes written for him is golden. Characters are credible and reasonably fleshed out. Production values leave little to be desired. Special effects hold up well. The editing and cinematography are great. There is relatively frequent amounts of modern language, as well as some disturbing, frightening content. Most people will be able to watch this. I recommend this to any fan of those who took part in making it. And I give it a 7 out of 10. Which I do think was specifically because I was like, okay, if I have to be completely brutally honest about this, I guess. But yeah, personally, it's a 9. Now, Rotten Tomatoes. Critics' consensus is that Sphere features an A-level cast working with B-grade material, with the story seen previously in superior science fiction films. I mean, I did see someone say that it's basically Solaris, which is not really, yeah. I guess it's fortunate that completely, it wasn't because I was gonna do a video on this, but I did recently rewatch the original Tarkovsky. Wait, I think so, Tarkovsky. Yeah, I think, yeah, Tchaikovsky is the dance thing, right? Ballet or something. I want to say Tarkovsky, Andrei Tarkovsky, I want to say, is the incredibly talented Russian director. I mean, yeah, that's a better movie, but this one is more, it's a lot easier to just sit down and watch for a modern audience. I mean, yeah, I guess something you could definitely say is, if you go into this expecting something on the level of Solaris, no, then you will be disappointed. That is true. Solaris, and again, I'm talking about the original. I don't remember the what's it called? George Clooney starring and directed by that guy who did the Ocean's movies, I want to say, but I forget his name offhand. I like him. I like his work, but anyway. Not especially the Solaris remake. I don't think that's a good example of his work, but then, I mean, they took, is the original 3 hours? I forget. I want to say it's around 3 hours, and turned it into a 2-hour movie, and they tried to make more of a mainstream, a modern mainstream. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure if it counted as mainstream back when it was made, but yeah, obviously it's going to lose a lot of the complexity of it. But yeah, that movie is way, way deeper. That one is really about like deep human, like what makes us human, and like the yeah, that is a deep movie. This isn't really trying to be deep. It's just it's more trying to be kind of exciting, and then it has that notion that we're not ready. If we had the power to make manifest our thoughts and ideas, we are simply too scared and insecure for that to go well. That's going to lead to us creating horrors. And yeah. I mean, Solaris, if you can get your if you can get your hands on a copy, and just be aware. If it's the first time you watch a Tarkovsky movie, maybe just decide to watch some of it, like watch half an hour at the time, or make the decision that if you genuinely feel, if at some point you feel like, okay, this is a little, this is too much, I can't quite, then take a break. Don't say I'm not going to finish watching it. Just try to start by taking a break and then see if later you want to come back to it, because the movies he made, they are not quite like the movies that are very common to mainstream movies today. I haven't watched all of his work, but he was incredibly talented. But the movies he made, don't let the fact that, yeah, technically, when he was making movies, Russia was the Soviet Union. You know, not everything. The Soviet Union did some awful, awful things, but some of the movies that came out of it are incredible. Do not sell short Russian movie directors on account of what the Soviet Union caused. Now, excuse me. There we go. Right. So, yeah. I mean, if you went into this expecting Solaris, but I don't think it was very realistic to go into this expecting Solaris. But I guess, I mean, maybe what happened was Michael Crichton either read the book Solaris or watched the Tarkovsky, adaptation of Solaris, and he was like, "That's kind of a cool idea." And then he went and wrote this book, which is more kind of like a mainstream, mass consumption kind of thing. And so all this, I mean, that is the thing. I would not watch Solaris. I would not recommend Solaris to someone under the age of 18, because there are some horrifying things in that movie. There are some incredibly scary ideas in that, and I really don't think that. Yeah, it's an incredible movie, but it's not going to be for everyone. And I could sympathize with wanting to make it more mainstream. And again, I it's been years since I watched. I think when I first watched this movie, it hadn't been that long since I last watched the American Solaris movie, which I think I've only watched once. And when watching this the first time, I wasn't like disappointed by that the way I was disappointed by, and I must have realized how similar it was to Solaris, because they are so similar. But yeah, the yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess that's maybe what they're, or maybe they, I don't know exactly what the critics' expectations were of this, but I would definitely say it's unrealistic to expect Solaris. This was never. This isn't like trying to be and failing to be Solaris. It's using the same concept, but for more of a, like, there's probably a version of Jurassic Park, maybe it hasn't even been written yet, where, instead of this, stuff of them being chased through, the park with parts of it shut down and such. Instead, it's this thing of, we can bring back the dinosaurs. What does that tell us about humanity? The same way this isn't really about, what would it tell us about humanity if our thoughts could manifest actual, reality. It's more like, if our thoughts could manifest actual reality, oh man, that would, oh, you'd see like a giant squid, and there'd be like, someone kill by like jellyfish, and and I don't think there's anything wrong with making that movie. Yeah, I mean, it's not as though, like, let's hypothetically say that Michael Crichton, when he wrote this, existed in a in an in a timeline wherein if you use an idea in one way, it can never be used in another way. So that by writing Sphere, he was destroying every single copy of the original Solaris. That would be messed up. But he didn't. Solaris, what was that thing that was it the guy who wrote the Big Sleep, among others, that became like Bogey, who said it once to Alan Moore, who I think has since turned around on the issue, but he once said, I didn't ruin my book. Look, it's right there, right on the bookshelf, right where I left. Anyone can read it. They didn't destroy my book by turning it into a movie that did not live up to the quality of the book. It's, yeah. Honestly, I would say, this might sound like rationalizing, but I don't think it is. I think there's a chance that people who read the book or watched this movie would like find out, oh hey, it's actually kind of inspired by this movie called Solaris, would actually go and watch the original Solaris. And not all of them are going to like it, but I really don't think that the movie Solaris is better served by no one using the idea. I could more understand being frustrated with the movie Event Horizon, because I mean, this and Event Horizon are both these kind of mystery sci-fi with, kind of like the yeah, things happen that are very kind of, excuse me, like exciting, and but ultimately this is still, yeah, Event Horizon is a movie made for 13-year-olds at the end of the day. That's, Paul W. Anderson tends to make movies for 13-year-olds, and I do specify 13-year-olds, not teenagers, because we are talking about that he goes in and just goes for that thing of like 13-year-olds who've just entered puberty, just entered their teenage years, and they're like, there are very specific things that 13-year-olds love, and I really feel like that's exactly what he's trying to do with his movies, you know. And this movie really is not made for 13-year-olds. You can, yeah, you can watch this if you're an adult. It's not going to seem, Event Horizon, if you're watching it and you're no longer a teenager, it's gonna seem kind of like, oh wow, really? I watched it when I was a teenager, and I've watched it since. And yeah, when I was a teenager, I mean, I always knew there were things about it that were kind of dumb, but I enjoyed other parts of it unironically. And yeah, then when I got a little older, I was like, oh wow, this is not a good movie at all. Yeah, I B grade material, really? I don't agree. I agree that it is not as like brainy kind of sci-fi as, yeah, Tarkovsky's Solaris and many other, but it's not B grade anyway. It has a 12% on the tomato meter, with 51 reviews total, and only 6 of them are fresh. I don't know. I don't understand how you can go that hard against it. And the audience, 38% liked it with 58,489 user ratings. An average rating. Oh wait, sorry. Yeah, this is the critics. The average rating they gave it was 3.95 out of 10. Yikes! And then the audience ratings were 2.7 out of 5. See, that makes sense. That makes more sense. Let's see. Excuse me. It all wraps up happily, but implausibly. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I really agree with that. Let's see. Yeah, this is some bad writing. Pointless. I mean, I guess, okay, I could see how, I mean, technically the ending renders everything that happened in the movie, it means that it might as well basically not have happened. Like the movie, like essentially, if they hadn't found, excuse me, if they had never found, if they, if, yeah, if the sphere had not been found at all and it just left on its own, nothing would be different from what it, except people who died would still be alive. That's the only thing that actually changes. So yeah, you could say, you don't learn, the characters don't end up learning anything because they forget everything by the end, and the characters don't discover anything that will change. I mean, I guess you could say that maybe it would have been more interesting if at the end, maybe it like ended with they can't escape the ship, and it starts moving, you know, moving back to the time it came from, and then just end on that without the character, without us meeting the people. But that would, then something would have changed. I guess I could see that. I guess I could see how some people consider it pointless. I don't think that every movie needs to change. I mean, I would be frustrated if it was like, excuse me, I don't know. I disagree. I don't think it's pointless, but I do understand people being frustrated with the ending and the, yeah. Yeah, here's one that says the ending is absurdly dissatisfying, and I mean, I can see what they mean. Let's see. For me to have been disappointed in this, I guess if it ended with them blowing up down there and we didn't learn what happened. I mean, I guess the fact that they get out alive and that they just don't remember it. I could see how. I mean, it is kind of like a like I guess the word is like safe, like something you feel like, oh, I could show that to my, you know, 8-year-old or whatever. It's not gonna scar them for life because, oh, see, everybody lived to the end, and there's not, I mean, there doesn't even appear to be any long-term trauma from the experience. So I guess I could see how that might frustrate. Yeah. I think I saw one of the reviews. What did that review suggest that it's because all three of them are expensive actors, and so they didn't want to let them die? I mean, I think I read that. Huh? Am I spoiling the book, or am I not spoiling the book? I'm. I mean, yeah, I guess I'm spoiling the book. As far as I read, that was how it ended in the book as well. The three of them survived, although apparently in the book, like it's implied that Beth still has the power. Now, let's see. Yeah, there's one where it says that, if you want a better Levinson movie, try Wag the Dog. I've only watched the trailer for that. It's on the VHS copy of this movie. I mean, it looks like it's fun. I honestly, from this guy, I could see how he's with this movie. He's incredibly funny. Barry Levinson, did he direct the first two Men in Black movies, or is that someone else? I I guess I could spend just a very brief. I mean, let's see. I could look that up on this, but I could also choose not to, and I'm choosing not to. I feel like I've liked other movies he's directed. Is he maybe the one who directed the Addams Family movies also? Those I definitely love. Anyway, let's see. Packaged as a smart psychological drama, it gradually dissolves into a badly edited action thriller, albeit one obscured by a cast of top-notch talent. So that's maybe something that critics think that the movie is, and that it bothers. I mean, I could see if I felt that was the way, if I thought that was true of the movie, I would probably be frustrated. But I really don't think that. Yeah. Let's see. What else? Let's see. This one guy says they don't know what to do with the talent they have. Yeah, this one guy says this lack of payoff is a real flaw in a film pitched to a discriminating sci-fi mentality about the ending. Fine filmmaking cannot overcome mediocre material. Sphere's film visual potential, Levinson can't tap it. It's just a whole lot more comfortable trying to tame the human software than the technical hardware. Maybe. I I don't think that there's when watching it, I don't feel like there's too little of that kind of thing. But Yeah, I mean, I've seen more visually compelling ones. I will say this is kind of cute. We have nothing to sphere but sphere itself. And yeah, and this guy says it's familiar. See, that's I don't think there's anything wrong with familiar. If you know, if you, as long as what you're making is compelling, then I don't think it's bad automatically for it to be familiar, as long as it's not terrible. And again, I've seen better. I've seen better with this concept, but this is good. I mean, I'm sorry, but if I'm going to sit down and just watch a movie and I have a choice between this or Solaris, this is what I'm going to put on. You know, Solaris is what I'm going to put on if I'm about to have this deep conversation with someone about, you know, what it is to be human. But yeah, this is I do tend to, if there's like what was that thing Mark Twain, I almost said Mark Hamill, although Mark Hamill has said some wise things as well. Mark Twain said that the what's it called, like when you're talking about books, a masterpiece is something that everybody should have read but no one wants to read, I think is how it is. And that's kind of the thing with some really incredible movies that just, yeah, I, you know, I have a lot easier of a time sitting down watching this than anyway. And I love action thrillers, so, and I don't think the editing is bad. I guess, I guess I could see how some people would go into this expecting less of an action thriller than it is. Now, let's see. Excuse me. Okay, so this one guy says, I've seen Alien and I've seen The Abyss, hence I had already seen Sphere. Alien is a far better movie than this. I don't remember The Abyss. I watched it once, and like I said, I'm not into undersea stuff. And I think there were some issues with that movie that I just did not like. I need to watch it again. I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but I am saying I watched both movies, and this I love, and that one I don't even remember. You know, so it's I really don't think it's an issue of this movie is bad and that movie is good, as much as these are two movies that maybe that one's a great movie and this one's only a good movie, but this movie does have, you know, it appeals more to other people. And yeah, if I had to, I don't remember The Abyss being like incredibly funny from start to finish like this is. Yeah, I don't know. I think The Abyss might be the only movie that James Cameron has directed that I didn't like the first time I watched it, and I haven't watched it more than one time. But yeah, the rest of them, yeah, the rest of the movies he's directed I love, so not equally. No, for sure, The Terminator's my absolute favorite, and Aliens is my second favorite. Hmm. Yeah, I guess I think I'm just gonna go ahead and go directly into. And I'm afraid this might bounce the camera some. Can't really be helped. Okay. Okay, this should work and not bounce the camera. Excuse me. The thing that excuse me, that I did that might bounce the camera, I'm already done with. Now, let's see. Yeah, so there's this one review that says, you know, the movie is pervasive boys club snarkiness, which is especially, you know, especially since Stone is actually good. Levinson has always been a better director of men, but it would be nice if, I don't know if this is how to pronounce his name, Atanasio could learn how to write a role for a woman that wasn't an embarrassment as well as an insult. And I noted to try to see if I had something to add, you know, to say about that. And I mean, I did note, I would argue that Beth is the only major female character. Teeny and the one whose name I don't even remember, and I don't. Did she ever say or do anything? I know that I remember that she died. I don't even really remember how, but her character was probably there so that there were more that they could kill off. You know, hers is the only major female character, and as such, the only major female character was sexually involved with one of the male characters and is overly emotional about it from the film's point of view. She's thought to be crazy, which is treated only as a danger to herself and others, rather than the movie exploring with empathy for her what that's like. The movie never really tries to go into, you know, this is a, it's unfortunately seen in a lot of movies that the idea of someone being quote unquote crazy is presented as, oh, they might be dangerous, or oh, they're a victim, they definitely need help. That there aren't that many stories that explore, you know, the you know, what is it like to you know, what is your life like when everyone, when the first thought people have when they find out about your condition is to think that you're either dangerous or just a victim or something, you know, what that's like. And there are some movies about that. And some of those movies are absolutely amazing. But a lot of times when it just comes up in a movie, yeah, it's just, you know, oh, they're dangerous, oh, they're a victim, or oh, it's funny that they're crazy, you know. And yeah, the fact that they use that in this, and that they then use it for the only major female character. You know, there's that trope of, you know, oh, women, they're emotional, they can't control their emotions, and they, you know, they're they're just, they're unstable, and you can't, you know. So yeah, it is a bit. There you go. There's the one negative thing I can say about the movie that isn't just saying, I get that other people would think this. I do genuinely think that that's a problem for the movie. Now, let's see. Right. Yeah, so this is IMDb trivia. Many scenes, like Harry and Norman's conversation about making up the ULF report and dealing with Ted, were completely improvised. They did an amazing job. That is incredibly. It's so funny, and it really, like, I forgive you for the report. I don't forgive you for Ted. That man is intolerable. Now, let's see. Right, so the still IMDb trivia. The jellyfish attack sequence used a combination of puppets, computer graphics, emoji. You mean CGI? Anyway, and footage of real jellyfish. filmed at a nearby aquarium. The footage of real jellyfish was played at 3 to 5 times its normal speed to make the jellyfish appear more aggressive. I really think they did a great job. Yeah, I mean, as I'm watching the movie, I know that I can't literally be watching a group of jellyfish killing a person, but that's what it looks like. It never feels like yeah, see, I really think again, maybe that's not Levinson, maybe that's like a first unit director or a special effects director or some whatever. They did a great job on it. And right, and the originally they were apparently the movie Waterworld, one of the that movie lost a ton of money. One of the reasons is that it was filmed in on the ocean, which as yeah, I'm just going to quote, sent the budget into the stratosphere. It crippled Waterworld's chances at the box office. Someone actually greenlit shooting a film on the ocean. See, some people when they really don't think like a common thing is that oh we're gonna submerge our actor in partially in some water, and a lot of the time they'll not stop to think maybe we should make sure that it's heated because water by itself is actually kind of cold. The fact that I can submerge myself in a bathtub at home doesn't mean that the water's going to be nice and warm if we submerge and that's something you got to figure out. Otherwise you end up with actors who get really just extremely cold. That's something that happens in a lot of movies. And you've got like I still can't actually believe, but yeah, it actually did happen. They used, I forget if it was for the first one or only for the second one, but for Aliens, I don't remember if Alien, when, I'm not gonna give character names here, but there are certain characters who have like the what's it called? They bleed something other than human blood, and the substance was was made from several different things. One of those things was milk, and what they did not realize was that milk milk goes bad. Milk goes bad, and some of the milk went bad. It turned sour. I forget what it's called. It's not something I talk about in English very frequently, and I always appreciate when people aren't, when they don't realize this when just hearing me talk in English. English is not my first language. I learned it at an early age, but it's not my first language. And other than internet, I don't actually speak English. I don't really have people that I talk to where I speak English on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, I don't remember how you say that about milk, but yeah, the milk went bad, and yeah, those I can okay. I mean, you don't necessarily think about it, but someone actually thought that filming on the ocean was not an unbelievably bad idea. That just that is baffling to me. I think I watched Waterworld at least once. I don't remember it. I will have to say, I watched Nostalgia Critic review of it, and he's like, "Oh, there's a lot of this. There's a lot in this movie of just stuff." And I watched that and I was like, "Why is that a bad thing?" And that's of course something that I find myself. That's why I stopped watching Doug Walker stuff because He'll say a thing, and I'll be like, so what? And it gets really frustrating. That's not the only reason. Anyway, right. So the hmm, right. Originally, Harry was the only person who could type questions. Let's see. Yeah, the yeah, he was the only one who could type. But and they changed the film and have and all the crew could communicate with Jerry. I do think that overall is a good call. However, the original conception would account for the discrepancy in the code since Harry's mind projected on the computer screen whatever he wanted to see. So yeah, I do get that. Now let's see. Hmm. Okay, and moving on. Oh, right. Yeah. I don't remember exactly what he played, but Huey Lewis of Huey Lewis on the News does whatever. Yeah, is acts in this, same as he did in the first Back to the Future. And apparently Barry Levinson toyed with the idea of having Queen Latifah and Huey Lewis record a duet for the end credits. It could have been kind of cute. Yeah. Now let's see. And Andre Braugher was originally cast as Harry. I could see that. I could definitely. I do think that ultimately there are some. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he can also act it, but there are some things in this that Samuel Jackson did in a very Samuel Jackson kind of way. The when he's sitting there eating eggs and he's incredibly happy. I Yeah, Brower can probably play happy. I'm not entirely sure I've ever seen him play happy, but he would sound very differently than. But yeah, Samuel Jackson. It's pretty funny because a lot of the movie he doesn't sound very Samuel Jackson-y, but when he's sitting there like talking about how much he loves the eggs and oh this is delicious, you gotta tell me how you cook these, and yeah, that's what exactly was the point of. Now that I think about it, I have no idea what was supposed to be the idea behind. Like, why does Norman suddenly put like squid in front of him, and then like was he testing him? He didn't already know that he hated squid. I don't know, and it also and you also have to wonder why Harry wouldn't. I don't know. I mean, I guess he was behaving weirdly in general, but given that he hates squid, I mean, wouldn't it occur to him that maybe they've cooked squid for the, I mean, ocean squid? I don't know. Maybe it's. To be fair, if he had known, then we wouldn't have gotten that really funny scene. See, I'm just the scene of him like waking up and just eating and eating and being really happy about eating, and then suddenly seemingly choking, and then saying, "No, I'm not choking. I hate squid." That scene alone, I can't hate a movie that has a scene like that in it. I mean, I guess theoretically, I could. Okay, let's see, a movie I hate, a movie I hate. Hmm. I don't that often have to think about what movie I hate. I'm gonna try not to waste a lot of time here. I mean, I guess. Hmm. Let's see. Do I have any down there that I just outright hate? Hmm. I. I mean, let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure I can really think of one just right off the. But Halloween 8. I hate Resurrection. I'm gonna say Halloween Resurrection. I despise that movie. If I plucked the choking on seemingly choking on squid scene out of this movie and put it into Halloween Resurrection, it would make that every time I watched the movie, I'd be like, oh, here comes the squid scene. But I guess it wouldn't ultimately. No. At the end of the day, you'd still need a lot of the other scenes from this for it to be. I don't understand how you can hate this movie, but there are a lot of movies that critics hate that I love, and critics love that I hate. Which I think is worth noting. Does not mean that I think there's a conspiracy that critics are paid to give negative reviews to certain movies, and like they just don't want to, they want to trick people into watching bad movies and such. Just anyway, I guess that might be about what I those are the notes I took. Let me see if there's anything here at the end. I mean, yeah, just if you're sitting down and watching something exciting with this kind of concept, I would definitely go with this over Event Horizon. Again, unless you're 13. If you want this concept used to explore humanity, definitely the original Solaris movie. Hmm. I could imagine that in both the case of this and Solaris, that the book is better than the movie adaptation. Hmm. Let's see. I guess. Yeah, I suppose that is it. So I'm just gonna real quick. I think it's a pretty good cover, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you the cover of my VHS copy. And yes, if I open this, a lot of dust will come out. That's a joke. Let me see if I can catch the light. I get yeah, that's pretty good. And let's get close to the camera. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good cover. That's yeah. And yeah, with that, from the trailer, I would probably enjoy Wang the dog. Maybe I'll watch it at some point. Excuse me. And I do appreciate. I read in the trivia for this that apparently, like, Barry Levinson was like, he found out that it's going to take X amount of time to do the special effects or something. You know what? Let me, before I start saying things that turn out not to be. Let's see. So Wag. Yeah. So there's only a few mentions of. Yeah. While this movie was held up in production, director Barry Levinson was able to make another film with Dustin Hoffman in the interim, Wag the Dog, which came out in '97, and this came out in '98. or possibly, yeah, sorry, 98, right. I really wish more directors would. I sometimes kind of wish that James Cameron would do something like that. You know, I really don't think it was necessary. Like, I realize I'm not the first person to point this out, but first, when, you know, is the first movie he really directed, you know, he helped direct parts of that Piranha 2 movie, I want to say it's called. But the first movie he actually, you know, where it was him directing for real, was The Terminator. 2 years later, Aliens. 3 years later, The Abyss. 2 years later, Terminator 2. True Lies. 97? I want to. No, wait. Titanic's from 97. Okay, so anyway, somewhere between 92 and 97, True Lies. And then he doesn't release anything for 12 years. And now he hasn't released anything for 11. Yes, 9. 10? 9. 9 or 10 years. I realized that working on Avatar clearly takes a really long time, but I really wish that he would just put out some movies in between, because it is ridiculous to wait so long. And then, I mean, I am one of the people who do, I think there's a lot of good in Avatar, but it is, I mean, it's you can tell that he wrote it a long time before it was made, because it is kind of mired in the kind of, you know, the way movies were being written in the 80s and 90s. It really does not feel like a 2000s film. You know, it's almost a 2010s film. It's really, I think it would have been a good thing for him to rewrite the script as he realized, okay, I'm not going to make this in the 80s or 90s, and make something in the time in between. It's ridiculous to wait 12 years for James Cameron. Like, I'm not saying that I love James Cameron. He's one of my favorite directors. I'm not saying it's that he makes bad movies, but I mean, if 12 years pass, like, you know what, Kubrick, I understand. The you know, I realize that James Cameron is also a perfectionist, but it's just, no, I really don't think you should let that many years pass. Just, you know, throw something together for fun in the meantime. You know, I mean, True Lies already feels like it wasn't made. Like, if there's a lot of passion behind the movie True Lies, it's passion at hatred of, like, wives and, like, daughters. Like, that movie, I watched it fairly recently. That movie hates Jamie Lee Curtis's character and the daughter character, Eliza Dushku. I want to say yeah. It hates. Just look at the way that they're framed when they're in danger. They come off as so whiny and obnoxious and needy and pathetic. And I hate saying that about Jamie Lee Curtis, the freaking, yeah, I'm blanking on the name, but Halloween. I love her in Halloween. You know, yeah, both of the movies just named Halloween that she stars in as Laurie Strode. I guess technically she doesn't star in the new one, but she plays Laurie Strode. And, you know, I mean, Eliza Dushku, I've really loved her work in other movies, but just, yeah, and it's not like, it's so unlike James Cameron to be so vicious towards, yeah, but excuse me. I mean, if he can, I don't see why he couldn't have made. I'm not saying True Lies 2, but something as pointless as just utterly, like, True Lies is not a movie that's, you know, okay, I guess I said pointless because I just read it. True Lies is not a movie that's gonna change anything. It's not a movie that, yeah, I just it really I don't understand why you would wait that long between putting out movies, especially if you're not gonna do more to update the script. You know, maybe at some point I'll make a video where I go over all the things in Avatar that that are from, you know, that made, you know, that are clear, that were acceptable and even common in like the 80s and 90s, but by the year 2009, most people had moved on from those tropes. You know, there are a lot of things in the movie that are very clearly like, the only reason it wasn't made until then was that the technology wasn't there. There is nothing about the story. I mean, the story is it's essentially the what's it called? Dances with Wolves. You know, what was that from? 92, I want to say, if I had to guess. Sometime in the 90s. I'm almost certain sometime in the 90s. You know, and then you have this thing of, oh, you know, he's disabled, but it's okay because he can get new legs as long as he does this thing, you know, and oh, it's too bad that his twin brother died, but now we have him, and just all these things where it writes, you know, it ties itself in knots trying to justify the concept because he liked that concept. He didn't really, you know, so it has all these trappings from, yeah, 80s and 90s kind of things that, yeah, I don't know. I really feel like it would have made a lot of sense for him to make at least one movie in the meantime. And same for now. He's also, you know, he's put a lot of years into the Avatar movies, and I mean the fact that there are, I forget, is it like they're supposed to, he's making 3 sequels, so there'll be at least 4 Avatar movies total. I mean, it's been a joke for so long on the internet, you know. Oh, if you're gonna stop some, if you're gonna stop something bad from happening, you should probably stop James Cameron from making so many Avatar movies. You know, oh, how many Avatar movies are we getting anyway? 5,000? You know, he's pushed it way too far. And just even the idea of making, yeah, he's making like 3 movies at the same time, isn't he? And they're gonna come out 10 years after the first. Wait, 11, yeah, because I'm pretty sure they're not coming out until at least next year. I mean, making 3 movies at the same time, you know, that worked for Lord of the Rings, and I guess it's up for debate if it did or did not work for The Hobbit. But I mean, I just don't. Maybe the Avatar sequels are essentially Lord of the Rings. Maybe that's as far. But if you're making Lord of the Rings, you really don't want to, you know, you want to put your best foot forward. You don't want to start by making the first Avatar movie. You know, there are good things to it, but it is not on the level of a Lord of the Rings movie. And I'm not even like, I I I love the Lord of the Rings movies, but I'm not a fan of fantasy. You know, I only love the Lord of the Rings movies because they're genuinely great movies. It takes a lot to convince me of a fantasy kind of story. But I guess I'm just, yeah, I'm no longer talking about, how did I get to talking about the, anyway, yeah. Is there any closing, in closing on Sphere? I the hmm, yeah, I think that it, to me it works, you know, and I've, you know, your mileage may vary, but yeah, I mean, if, yeah, you know, I've owned it for years now, but hypothetically, let's, yeah, let's say that, you know, I mean, VHS. Eventually, it will. You know, there were like two times, but it was only in the opening. Like it was before the movie started. It was like trailer show before the movie. But there were like two times where the tape would stop for a few seconds and then go back, and then I was like, you know. But I mean, I've got like another 30 VHS movies to go, so I'm sure at least one of them will, you know, turn out not to work. But all of them are movies I've watched before, so it's possible I could still do a video on it. And it's not, you know, it's not the end of the world if a week passes where I don't watch, where I don't vlog, or 2 weeks, I guess, technically. 2 weeks pass with only one, whatever. But what was I, right. Hypothetically, if I, you know, yeah, you know, at some point that copy, my VHS copy of the movie probably will stop working. Yeah, I think I would be willing to pay money to, and that's a big thing because once I've watched something, once I've spent money watching something, you know, after that, if I watch it again, it's going to be through a library copy or something, which is free except for taxpayer money. But it's, you know, whether I watch 10 library copy movies in a year or none, I still pay the same in taxes, so I might as well watch 10. But yeah, I think I would be willing to spend money to watch this movie again. I think so. I think so. And yeah, it's just you know, it's funny. The characters are likable and credible. It's you know, for a science fiction movie, it's very clear what the danger is. I felt like the concepts were handled well. I mean, I think you could very easily, like when Jerry starts talking in this very, you know, simple kind of way, it does, like, you would, yeah, he sounds like a child. That would, yeah, actually maybe that is what happened. Maybe a lot of people felt that that's just, you know, that's too silly. You can't have a concept like that and then have the you know, but I think it works. You know, I yeah, I mean, there's the school of thought that says, oh, that's really silly. You can't treat an intelligent sci-fi concept like that. And then there's the school of thought that says, well, yeah, but he's like a child, and right now he's happy. What happens when he gets angry? You know, and yeah, I genuinely do think it's terrifying, and the idea there at the end, you know, over the course of the movie, you realize, well, yeah, near the end, you really for sure realize basically every single dangerous thing that's happened is because they are these, you know, is neurotic the term? Anxious and kind of, yeah. As people, these are very anxious characters. So when they have the power to create anything, what they create are these horrors. And yeah, I I quite like them. I love the movie. And I guess there's not really, at the end of the day, there's nothing that's going to talk me out of loving the movie. But yeah, the one negative is I do think that the way it handles the subject of her mental illness is problematic. I guess that's, yeah. So that is it for this one. I hope you enjoyed watching as I enjoyed watching and recording, and I'll catch you next time.